Hello, everyone. It is Monday, April 28th, 2025. Welcome to another episode of the He Said, She Said Sports Talk podcast. We are your hosts. I am Big Red, along here with Tony. What's good, Tony?
Oh, just the Monday after the draft. So
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
feeling, media is talking about it. It was a wild weekend. Definitely unexpected.
Yeah, no, definitely unexpected. A wild weekend. A lot of interesting things happened and went on during the draft. A lot of people were talking about speaking on. Obviously, the number one would be Shedeur Sanders.
An unprecedented fall.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. In my opinion, really, it was kind of purposely done. In my opinion, it's kind of like the NFL Shield was just kind of like not trying to go the college route where players have a lot more power. They're still trying to hold their ground.
Yeah,
Um,
no, nobody's bigger than the Shield. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Nobody's bigger than the Shield. Um, so you had someone who was projected as a top two, top three quarterback. Definitely projected to not go out of the first round, but obviously did, going to the fifth round, 144th pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. For the Browns.
Yeah, to the Cleveland
Already
Browns.
drafted a quarterback in the third
Yes.
round in
Yeah,
Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel, yeah. So that was kind of a surprise, all the teams that passed on him round after round, and then including the Browns, and then taking a quarterback, and then actually taking Shedeur in the fifth round. How do you feel? Because I know Shedeur is your guy. I like Shedeur as well. Um, but how do you feel about the whole process and how everything happened and how he handled it as well?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think he handled it fantastic. And if there's nothing else that you could say, it's that Shedeur Sanders is maybe the best big brother in the world because he wasn't worried about himself all weekend.
Yeah,
Ended up signing as an undrafted free agent to the Bucks, but all weekend, all he cared about was what was going on with his brother. And so, as a big sister like myself, it was just really admirable to watch the Sanders brothers throughout the course of the weekend.
hmm
I obviously had Shedeur higher than Cam Ward, as several analysts did. Several people had Cam Ward, but realistically, yeah, realistically, they were 1 and 2. And like we've said many times, it's not a strong quarterback draft class. It's not like they're 1 and 2 and they're the greatest quarterbacks to ever come out of college. They can start in the NFL. That's what we were saying, right? In the way that the
Yeah,
league looks right now. But maybe, and I guess this is what the NFL was telling us, is that they don't see Shedeur Sanders as a starting quarterback in the NFL, which is fair. It's fair. They're not like he's not miles away fantastic as a quarterback, right? But neither is Cam Ward, and the Titans took him.
hmm
Shedeur Sanders is an interesting case because in the NFL, you see it all the time. It's talent over everything,
yeah, yeah,
except when you're a backup quarterback. Backup quarterbacks don't get that same treatment because a lot of times if you're a backup quarterback, right, you can't
yeah,
have all the, bread and circuses and the cameras and the fame because you're the number 2 guy or the number 3 guy and it doesn't favor well for NFL teams.
yeah.
And so it was interesting and maybe that's how a lot of teams see him. But the one thing that the media and people like us are not privy to is the behind the scenes process, the interviews, the private workouts that they have. So I think what really happened here was they said, these 32 teams on the board that were picking kind of just were like, he's not that guy, he's not our starter.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it to us to put up with the circus of Shedeur Sanders,
The fact that he
Deion
doesn't need,
Sanders, Coach Prime. They didn't want, calls for Dion to start coaching the team or things like that. Because you know what? This is as much on Dion as it is anybody. This is as much as on Shedeur as it is anybody, and it's as much on all of the NFL teams as it is anyone. This is it was a three-headed monster in what ended up happening.
Yeah, yeah,
But it
yeah.
wasn't
No,
something that
definitely,
we could have ever expected. Now, I think he's in a great situation
definitely is.
to go win a starting job now. He needs to reevaluate, look at what was the reason that the Steelers didn't see me as their starting quarterback, because that was the team that I was the most
Yeah.
surprised that passed, right?
Uh-huh.
Why did the Raiders not want me as their backup
Mm.
where I have connections, right?
The
What were
Saints.
the things that held me back? Why didn't the Giants want me?
Yeah, the
Was I
Saints.
truly unprepared in these interviews? How do I go to Cleveland and let them know that I'm not going to be a distraction and that
Mm.
I'm not going to be all talk, no performance? So he's in a good spot now to go
Yeah,
perform,
yeah.
and he can win a starting job in Cleveland with that quarterback room.
No, definitely for sure. I'm gonna just say this. Start off. I wish Shador the best. I
Yeah.
hope he does end up winning the starting job in Cleveland. People from Ohio here know that I'm not a Browns fan by far, but I do wish him the best. I do like Shador as well. I just feel like it's. I don't say it's a great spot, but it's not a bad spot. It's like kind of in between, you know. Obviously, they brought in Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, which looked good for them the last couple of years. Then, like you said, they drafted Dylan Gabriel, so he'll have some competition for sure when it comes to that. But I think that the fans of Cleveland will be rooting for, just being from Ohio and knowing a lot of Browns fans. I think that they will be rooting for Shador to get that job, you know, and him getting that job will bring a lot of attention to Cleveland as well, in other ways than football, obviously. But as far as football goes, you know, I think this is just a motivational thing for him. Falling that far, you know, it should fuel the fire. If I was Shador, it would fuel the fire for me,
Yeah.
make me want to go out there and work. You know, I heard him mention over the weekend that he wasn't going to like pursue the music anymore. He was just going to focus on football. So, you know, that was good to hear from him that he's not doing no extracurriculars, and just really going in and focusing on ball. You know, that's good for Brown. That sounds good for Browns fans. As far as Dylan Gabriel's okay. He was a good college quarterback for sure, but I don't think he'll have to worry about Gabriel. I think the competition will be more with Pickett and Flacco for sure. Unfortunate that he had to fall. Like I said again, I think it was just part of the NFL standing their ground, not trying to bring the college trend into the league. You know, where players just have the power to take their NIL and move how they want to move. But I just wish that the Browns would have took Travis Hunter at 2 and not traded back. You know, that way him and Shador could have been teammates in the league, you know?
Well, I mean, look, we'll get into it a little bit, but the Browns did the most Browns thing in the entire world. I actually thought that it was smart of them to trade back because one player is not going to change that team right now. That team is in
They
what,
got a first round pick for next year too, so they better make that pick count for
right.
sure.
So trading back for picks to me made sense, but only trading back to five and not getting more out of it is the
Uh-huh.
most Browns thing
And to
that
me,
could have
who they
possibly
picked, don't get me
happened.
wrong. Mason Graham's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be a good player in this league, but I don't think that's who the Browns should have took at 4. That's
I
just
mean,
my
I
opinion.
think he was the third best player available in this draft.
Yeah, for sure. He's like I said, I'm not taking it away from him. He's a great
But
player. He's a
this
great player in college.
this draft was loaded with defensive players. So yeah, you're correct in that assessment where like, is it the best possible choice they could have made? I don't know. They definitely went with the best player available in that spot. But it
Definitely.
was loaded with so much defensive talent this draft. They could have and should have traded back farther for more picks.
More picks.
Still got a really solid defensive player if that's what they were looking for.
Because so many players dropped, good defensive players dropped too, that were
Yeah.
there, you know.
So I mean,
So
it's such a Browns thing to do is to trade
definitely,
back three fucking spots.
yeah.
Like for
For Mason Graham, I get it, and they could
no,
have
for
had
minimal picks.
Abdul
They didn't
Carter
trade
or
back for
Travis
Graham.
Hunter.
They
I got to
traded for
get one
picks.
of those guys. I got to get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I can't let both of those guys go by. You know, that's just me. But that's who they took, and like you said, that's the Browns thing to do. They're going to have to make that pick next year. That first round pick they got from the Jaguars count definitely as well. Um, what were some of your first round reactions from the draft? Like, who were some people that maybe surprised you that got in the first round, or maybe even somebody who just was a solid fit for you on the team? Anything like that as far as the first round goes?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously we kind of expected Ashton Genty to go where he went.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so the Raiders, great fit with Pete Carroll. He's walking into a great situation there. I was a little surprised Colston Loveland went to the Bears before.
Man, what
That was
you?
the first tight end off the board. That was
That's
a surprise. But like I had said in our previews of the draft, right? The Bears
uh
did a really great job shoring up their offensive line in the offseason, in free agency. So they were able to pick up an offensive weapon. I thought it might be running back, but tight end, they're telling Caleb, we believe in you. We've worked on your offensive line. And there's no greater present to get a quarterback than an offensive line. The next best thing is an offensive weapon. And I trust Ben. So if they believe that the best weapon on the board was Colston Loveland, I'm excited to see it. Uh,
I mean, I guess it was the what they were. I guess it was a fit thing or something. I mean, to me, Tyler Warren was definitely the better tight end out of those two.
seems like it's a fit thing for Ben Johnson's scheme.
Yeah. Obviously, they'll play. He'll play a lot in the slot
Yeah.
for sure at the tight end from the tight end position for Ben Johnson. So, um,
Yeah.
I guess it's more of a fit for them. But I mean, I definitely would have went different in
Yeah.
that. But who was like somebody who maybe was a surprise for you that you didn't think maybe would be picked in the first round that got picked?
There were two surprises here for me. The Falcons, they had talked and talked and talked to James Pierce Jr. We know how good he is. I was surprised when they didn't take him, but I think
They
the
ended up getting him still.
well, so okay, let me spill, let me go, let me cook.
Let you cook. I got you.
I don't think that you could pass up on a talent like Jalen Walker, who I think they were surprised was
Yes.
still sitting on the board. So
Man, what?
they took him. And then they worked hard. They traded with the Rams. They got another pick on the board, and they ended up going with James Pierce Jr. So I think the Falcons really nailed round one. I think that
Yes.
it's definitely worth it. Um, Everybody in New York is talking about Jackson Dart. Listen, the Giants, whether you like Jackson Dart or not, Dable likes Jackson Dart, and Dable is a great quarterback coach. So that is
Mhm.
his hand-picked guy. It's the first time he's had a hand-picked guy.
It brings so much pressure on the Giants
The
again, man.
Giants absolutely cooked in this draft.
You think so?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? Think about think about Abdul Carter on that front line.
Well, obviously with him, yes.
That line is incredible. And Abdul Carter is a unique talent.
Yeah, they got Dexter
They
Lawrence.
now
They got a
have
few guys.
they now have a quarterback of the present in Russell Wilson that you know what you're going to get with him. But you
Um,
also have a quarterback of the future that is going to be working specifically with Brian Dable that they believe in. But the Giants, they filled a lot of needs. Steal of the draft, Cam Scatterboo. Love, love
yeah,
Cam Scatterboo.
good player.
They got him late,
Yeah, they did.
and it's a perfect pairing with Tyrone Tracy. I think the Giants did a really good job of filling very specific needs. I don't think they needed to trade up into the first round to get Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
I'll
that
say
that was
that.
my that was what I was going to get at. That was my whole thing. I
They didn't
just
need to
didn't.
trade up.
Yeah, they definitely did it. You know, maybe needed to move up a little in the second round, depending on where they were picking, but to move up in the first to go get him, I just felt like definitely was a big surprise,
Wasn't
a big leap.
necessary. But all in all, I think they had a real, I mean,
Yeah, they definitely
is
had
a
a
team
decent
that has
draft.
struggled in recent years. And I think they killed this draft. And I'm excited to see what they do now with all these pieces.
Huh?
And then your team had the steal of the draft. Jahad Campbell falling to
Yeah,
30.
falling that. Yes. How did that happen? I don't know how that happened, but I seen it happen, and they moved up one spot with Kansas City to go get him, I was just like, man, what is how he does it again? You know? And then
How you get so lucky, I don't even understand. I don't understand. Um,
I don't either. I love it though. I'll take it.
I don't know if you saw Maxwell Hairston all night in the green room.
Uh
He was
huh.
the closest person to the stage. He congratulated every single person
Everybody.
all night like they were a brother to him. I was
Mhm.
really happy when he finally had his moment,
Got picked.
and Bill's Mafia is going to adore him. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the first
He's
round,
a good player too. He's a solid corner. He's going to do good in
very
the league
solid
for sure.
corner.
100%.
First round, that was kind of my big reactions. We'll talk about our specific teams and how we feel like they did a little bit later, so I don't
Uh
want to
huh.
get much into the Bengals pick in the first round. But yeah, what a moment for Matthew Golden to be in Green Bay with the
Mhm.
selection. That's awesome as well. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, he was right there. He didn't. He don't got to get on no flight. He
yeah.
already.
Anything you think I missed here? What were your kind of initial reactions to the first round?
Oh man. Obviously, like I said, the Browns thing. You know, not getting one of those guys, Travis Hunter or Dual Carter, to me was just mind blowing to me. But you know, they gotta, like I said, make that pick count next year. The Bears, like I said, with Colston, I didn't like that pick either. But the surprise of the draft was Tampa Bay taking Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. I like him a lot, but I didn't expect him to go in the first round. But
I didn't expect him to go receiver either.
yeah, and I didn't expect them to go receiver either. But the fact that he win the first round, like, makes it another year, like 4 or 5 years in a row, Ohio State has had first round receivers go. But that was a surprise to me as well. Obviously, Jackson Dart. Baltimore always gets solid. I hate Baltimore Ravens GM because or whoever is making their picks because they always get solid players. They always draft well. Baltimore does, and they got the player that I wanted Philly to get, which was Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Um, no, Detroit. Well, the Commanders drafted terribly as well too. The whole draft, they were probably one of my worst. I know we're going to get to best and worst later, but
Hmm.
they didn't draft well to me. And then Kansas City, their pick with Josh Simmons, I like that pick helped protect Mahomes. And then like you said, we'll get into our teams later. Obviously, Philly getting Jahad Campbell was definitely the surprise for me in the first round.
Hmm.
Definitely. Um, Late rounds. Let's talk about some late round steals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start with kind of a wild one. I don't think you're gonna expect me to go here. But round seven, pick number 242. The Rams took Kanata Mumfield out of Pittsburgh,
Uh
a wide
huh.
receiver. Obviously, we know that they don't have Cooper Kupp anymore.
Yes.
This is, I just have to say, watch this kid's film. The way that he tracks the ball is special. And he's
Mhm.
a talented player. He can make wild catches. And I think he's going to fit so well into this Rams offense and the McVay mindset. And with a passer like Matthew Stafford, I just think that this kid's potential is limitless. And he's
Yeah.
late seventh round pick.
No, definitely, definitely. Shout out to him. Hopefully he'll get his chance to fit in out there with Puka and them boys.
All right.
Definitely.
Give me a late round steal in your mind.
Man, this was hard for me. But I'm gonna go. I had a receiver or running back, but I'm gonna go receiver. Seattle, no, Tampa Bay took Tez Johnson in the seventh round, and I think that is going to steal for them. Obviously, they drafted Emeka Ibuka in the first round, but getting a guy like Tez Johnson, obviously he ran a slow 40 time, but his
Yeah.
play on the field doesn't show that type of speed of a 4.5 or whatever it was he ran. He's a good player, slot player, fast, shifty guy, good hands, can track the ball well. I think that was a steal for the Buccaneers to
Mm,
get him in the seventh, definitely. I thought he might have went a little before the seventh round for sure. So definitely a surprise for
okay.
me, for sure.
Which team had the best draft, in your opinion?
This was tough for me too. This was real tough. But I would say to me, Arizona, the Cardinals,
Mm.
they had the best draft to me. They solidified a lot of spots on the defense. Obviously, they went offense a lot with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. They filled some spots on the offense. I still think they need to get another solid running back. But they got Walter Nolan Jr. at D tackle. They picked up Will Johnson in the second round, which we all thought he was going first round. They got Jordan Burch, the edge rusher from Oregon, the linebacker Cody Simon, Ohio State, also Denzel Ward from Ohio State, and then there's a safety from Nevada named Kitten Crawford. He's a sleeper too. You can look up his highlights. He's a great, solid player. But it was hard for me. But yeah, I chose Arizona. There was a couple other good ones out there too. But who was your team that was?
Shocked that the team that you picked with the best draft had probably the most Ohio State players on it.
I mean, obviously it did, but that wasn't the reason why I had a Michigan player on there too. Now, so
Hmm.
you know, but they
I
definitely
think
had they filled all their spots on defense. They needed edge, they needed linebacker, they needed all three. And Denzel Burke is going to be a solid pick for them. Like I said, Will Johnson at corner, them two young at corner. Then you got Walter Nolan and Jordan Burch on the D line, Cody Simon, and then they even picked up an offensive lineman from Texas. So I think they feel like as far as like needs and what a team needed to fill, I think Arizona had the best. What about you though? Who do you think?
I think that the team that probably had the best draft, and like you said, this was really tough. A lot of teams drafted really well.
Definitely.
The New England Patriots. I think you saw this coming because you know I love Will Campbell. I have him. I had him as my top tackle of the draft.
Yeah,
Uh, I
I
know
feel
you
he went too
don't.
high.
I know you don't. I know you thought it was too high. You texted me during the draft, and I was like, I don't agree with you. Um, Absolutely not. I think he, especially with his interview, the way he carries himself as a person, I do think that he has potential to even be a captain for this team in the
Hmm.
future. Uh,
Yeah,
I love Will Campbll. So
definitely.
I absolutely loved that pick for them. I think they needed, there were other teams that needed tackles coming up in that first round.
Hmm.
He was the best one in my opinion. And then like I've said, the biggest thing that you can do for a young quarterback is tell him that you not only that you trust him by getting him weapons, but also that you value him by getting him protection. So they went
Yeah,
tackle, running back, and they went Trayvon Henderson, who I'm sure Ohio State guy, I'm sure you love.
yeah. No, that was a good pick. He's a great back for sure. He was going to be a good NFL back.
And then they went receiver. And
Uh
then they
huh.
went the center, Jared Wilson out of Georgia, who's a phenomenal center. So they replaced that
Hmm.
position. So they said, hey, we value you and we're going to give you weapons to Drake May. And I just don't think that you can draft any better than that to reward your quarterback and give him the tools and the pieces to go and be successful. They've done a lot of work in the offseason. They've got a lot of money to,
Yeah. I just feel like it was too high. They should have went. They should have got a weapon at that pick instead
I
of
I don't I they need to protect Drake May. That was
for
very
sure. And I feel like they just could have got
important.
a other lineman later in the round. They could have went for a better weapon. Like they could have went and got McMillan,
No,
Arizona.
there is no better pick in my opinion for the Patriots than Will Campbell.
No, I feel you. I mean, they had a decent draft for sure, definitely. I liked Atlanta's draft as well.
Yep.
Uh, they were solid. They got Billy Bowman from Oklahoma, the safety in the fourth round, which was a steal in my opinion. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, also a safety, was a steal because I think they're going to lose Jesse Bates, the old Cincinnati safety. So they're trying to fill the needs for that. Obviously, James Pierce and Jalen Walker
Yeah.
speak for itself, but you know,
Where do you rank Cleveland's draft? Because I have seen, now listen, I hate the draft grades. I understand why we do them. They get clicks and engagement, and that's what you want. But it's so stupid. It's so hilarious because one, every person grades differently and everybody
hmm
has a different kind of opinion. And two, like ultimately at the end of the day, like teams took what they thought was the best person for them. So
yeah,
what are we grading here? But I have seen several gradings where they've got the Browns at an A plus for getting Shedeur Sanders so late in the draft. But I've also seen them get graded so poorly for taking two quarterbacks and two running backs.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really grade them based off of the amount of the quarterbacks or running backs and quarterbacks they took, depending on who it is. But I understand people or fans thinking that or feeling that way.
But do you
Uh,
think they had a good draft or a bad draft? Where do they fall in your opinion?
uh, they had they had a good draft. All right, I just feel like they I'm just in between. I swear with the Browns, it's so iffy. It's like they had two picks that I loved, which was Harold Fannin Jr., tight end from Bowling Green. It's an absolute steal. He's going to be a stud in the league. Um, then they got Quinshawn Judkins and Dylan Sampson, which I like the fact that they got both of those running backs. You
Especially
know,
with Chubb as a free agent.
free agent, and then even with the health of Chubbs, and he's getting up there as far as running back years go as well. But like I said, the Mason Graham pick is going to be. He's a good player. He's going to be good for them. So I just don't like the pick. It's not a bad pick. With the second pick, they got a decent linebacker from UCLA. I feel like they could have went better there in that spot, but I would give them like a B plus. The Browns, I would give them like a B plus overall. They're great for the draft. B plus, A minus area. That would be my
No,
pick.
I hate
Because
to
they
say it.
definitely got a steal with Shedeur in the later round. He could obviously end up being their franchise quarterback if he
Yeah.
does what he's supposed to do or play up to the level which they had him projected. So I told one of my friends that who was a Browns fan. I'm like, man, yeah, if he turns out to be what he's supposed to be, I'm like, y'all really stole that. Y'all going to steal that draft when they look back on it. So
Right. So these grades, I mean, not that we're grading anybody here because I
yeah, yeah,
subscribe to that behavior.
yeah. Yeah.
5 years from now could look completely different. I've seen, you know, teams be graded poorly that ended up having,
hmm
their franchise quarterback in it. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's just, it's up to interpretation. Hate to say it, I think the Browns had a decent draft. I think the Ravens had a really good draft.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
Sucks for me.
But
Um,
you know what's crazy though? I hate to say this, but the Dallas Cowboys had a good draft for like the first time in a long time, in my opinion. Um,
yeah.
they definitely hit on some spots where they needed to fill, like obviously offensive line. I like their first pick, the Tyler Booker kid from Alabama.
Mhm.
I like the edge guy from Boston College as well.
He was a
They,
sleeper, you know?
yeah,
He's a
he
great
definitely was a
youngster.
sleeper. I like the seventh round pick, the late running back, the Phil Maffa guy from Clemson. He was a steal.
I can't look at Phil Maffa's name without hearing the announcer's voice in my head every single time that he touches the ball. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if anybody can deliver it that way.
But no, like all the teams in my division except for the Commanders had good drafts.
Yeah,
The
the
Giants,
like I said, the Giants had a really good draft.
yeah, the Giants, my boys and the Cowboys drafted good. The Commanders, I don't know what they were thinking. I'm sure Commander fans are gonna have something to say about that, but I mean,
They didn't
I
they
like
didn't
their
stick
first
out
pick.
to me.
I like their first pick, John Connery, the offensive tackle from Oregon. I like that. Help protect Jaden Daniels. I like that pick. The rest of them, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to talk down on guys because I don't like talking down on guys, but I just didn't like their draft for sure.
I didn't mind their second pick either.
Amos from Ole Miss. I mean,
Might
that's
have
not
been
bad.
too high.
Yeah, yeah, that's not bad. He's going to be an all right player for sure. But the rest of the draft, it was just like, what are y'all doing? You
Yeah.
know, in my opinion. But like I said, how do you feel about your team, the Bengals,
Yeah.
and who you guys drafted and your
The
overall?
I think the Bengals had a very interesting draft. And it's one of those drafts that you're not gonna know if it was a good draft or not, right?
Hmm. Can
Because
I just touch on one thing before you get started? One of the surprise late round players that I remember I said I had two running backs.
one
One
of the
of the
surprise
other
draft,
running backs was Taj Brooks. I like Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. He was nice in college.
he's
That's just that was a steal.
he's a fantastic sixth round pick. Uh,
Yeah,
I know we've done a lot of work in the running back room. Chase Brown looks really great. We added P. Ryan back to the squad. But this addition, I think they're trying to basically reformulate that same Chase Brown success, which is very possible with a guy like Tosh Brooks. So I'm excited
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
If I had to rate the draft out of 10, I would say it's like a 6.5 with the potential to be an 8 or an 8.5. I think we've got four, maybe even five guys who can start.
yeah.
And
Barrett Carter, I like him out of Clemson. He's a dog.
people will say, and I think that Cincinnati media, analysts, like PFF, all these
Mhm.
different things had a very different looking draft for the Bengals. Fans of the Bengals think that they're smarter than the front office because the
Yeah,
front office has a history of letting them down. So a lot of people are talking very negatively about this draft. I don't want to be one of those people. I
yeah,
think that they took their guys, right? Shamar Stewart, the question here is basically promise over actual production.
yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of actual production.
Mm-hmm.
The athleticism, the way that he
His
gets
ceiling.
the quarterback, like it's all there.
Yeah.
And so if Al Golden and the defensive squad can get him there,
Mhm.
this could be like the steal of the draft to get
Yeah.
him in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody says, we should have gone tackle with the second round pick. Everybody wanted Tate Ratledge. I like him too.
Yeah,
He
he's a
would have
good
been a
player.
fantastic player to have.
Yeah, out of Georgia.
They had a
Yeah.
guy that they wanted and they took him. I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Dylan Fairchild, Georgia guard,
Yeah.
0 sacks allowed in the SEC this last.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Rivers, Miami guard. I think it's 1 sack allowed. I think there's a combined 1 sack allowed between
Yeah.
these two guys.
Yeah, y'all feel the need for sure. Y'all
So
definitely feel y'all's needs.
defense, protect Joe. I think we didn't do a great job getting secondary players, but
Yeah.
it looks like Al Golden wants to go with really strong linebackers that can get to be a
And
part of
there's
it.
still the free agency too. You know, you guys can pick up some. Probably will pick up somebody as far as safeties go.
So I'm hesitantly optimistic about this draft. I think the one thing that the Bengals struggle with is scouting. They have a very limited scouting department. So
Mhm.
their guys, it's only 4 or 5 scouts that are putting all this together.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? I don't know. It seems like they have a pretty good consensus on their guys. So again, cautiously optimistic, excited about it. Uh, I would say, it's a C plus, B minus if you're grading it. That could turn into an A.
No,
So
definitely. It definitely has the potential.
the
Y'all
boys
definitely
just
feel
have to
some.
do their extra credit and then maybe an A.
Y'all feel in the meat of y'all's positions that y'all needed. You know, offensive line, defensive line, obviously, linebackers. Like I said, I like Barrett Carter a lot.
And I
Uh,
think if you look at all of these
I
players,
think he's a plug and play guy right away.
if you look at all these players and who they're potentially replacing, I think they're better than everything that they're replacing.
Hmm.
Plus,
Yeah.
we can potentially cut a few more players and get some cap back.
Hmm.
Fine track.
Yeah. Hopefully they can just get Henderson signed. You know, I'm not sure how he felt about y'all taking a edge rusher with the first pick, but
That's not to replace Trey, though. That's Sam Hubbard right there.
yeah,
Look
yeah,
at the
no, for sure.
athleticism. That is a Sam
Definitely.
Hubbard replacement.
Definitely. No, I know that. I know. That's what I'm saying. He's going to be on the other side of Trey for sure. But hopefully, you know, y'all can get the deal worked out, you
I
know.
think that we drafted players that are better than some players on the current roster that will be cut, that will give us a lot of cap space back.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. Y'all had a good draft, though. I will say that. You know, it was a lot of, we talked about it a few times about it being the pressure on them to hit on their picks. And, you know, they hit pretty good to me. I would grade the Bengals as like a B plus A, you know, like or A minus around there somewhere as far as their draft goes.
Cautiously optimistic. I do like to see a little more production from the guys that we draft sometimes. Like a lot of a lot of these
Yeah. But it's like that sometimes,
have
though. A lot of
some.
guys have less production in the college, and then they'll be more successful in the league. I don't know. It is like that for some
It's
guys.
clear Al Golden's defense is going to be an athletic, fast, get to the quarterback kind of defense. And
Mhm.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. So yeah, no, shout out to the Bengals on and those guys for being drafted and accomplishing their dreams, lifelong dreams for sure. Uh,
Let's get to your Eagles now. What do
I mean, I feel like they did great as far as the draft. I mean, they like I said, the steal was Jihad. Obviously, he's going to be a plug and play guy right away. The safety from Texas, Andrew, he's a steal. I like the Ty Robinson guy, the big D tackle from Nebraska. Him playing next to Jalen Carter and rotating in with Jordan Davis is going to be fantastic. We got a steal also with Samal Munden, the linebacker from Georgia. Um, he's a steal. The only pick who I was kind of unsure about, but I understand it because we need depth at the quarterback. They picked up Kyle McCord from Syracuse Orangeman.
Syracuse? He's
Yeah,
great. He's great. And I do think that they were actually going to take Shedeur Sanders, and that's why the Browns moved up ahead of the Eagles.
yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
They were planning on taking Shedeur, but Kyle McCord, another great quarterback. I thought he was the fifth best quarterback on this in this draft.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, he's a good, solid pocket passer for sure. He definitely worked on this game from his time at Ohio State. He led the nation in passing yards college football last year. So, um, but yeah, no. And then we got some offensive tackles, the Miles Hinton from Michigan and Cameron Williams from Texas. And then also, I feel like we got to steal with the edge rusher, the last pick in the sixth round that we had Antoine Powell Ryland. I think he led the nation in sacks, period, in college football last year. So to get him in the sixth round was just crazy. It's Howie, our GM, Howie Roseman, man. Shout out to you, man, because he's been doing it the last 3 or 4 drafts, putting this team together. Obviously, putting them together to win a Super Bowl and hopefully keep the run going, or at least be in competition, competing for Super Bowls. But if I was to grade it, I would say it's like a kind of a A minus A. You know, I wouldn't say it's an A plus, but depending on how some of those players turn out. But no, a lot of those players like Jihad and the safety from Texas, they'll play right away, and you know. But I think it was a good draft, definitely for sure. I think Ty Robinson will play right away. I just think he's a dog in the middle. If you look up his tape at
Yeah.
Nebraska, he's a beast. He's kind of like got that Jalen Carter-ish in him,
Yeah.
that nasty in him. So, but no, definitely.
Congratulations to like every single guy that got drafted, every single person who signed as
Mhm.
a drafted free agent. It's not
Yep.
what you get drafted, it's what you do once you
Yeah,
get.
with the opportunity, yeah, for
uh,
sure.
All in all, I think for a draft that lacked a lot of star-studded talent on the offensive end, because quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, those are the names that people really
Hmm.
remember. It lacked a little bit of star power, but it was a really, really fun draft to watch, and really fun to predict. So, with all of that said about the draft, I think it's time to move on to the NBA playoffs because I think people kind of during the draft weekend, some people, including myself, maybe forgot that the NBA was also happening.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I kind of knew it was happening, but I was definitely more tuned in to the NFL for sure. Being an NFL junkie, but no, definitely there was some playoff basketball being played. To start off, I'm gonna just say I wish a lot of the series were a lot closer.
Yep.
I like it to last a little bit longer. Get closer series. A lot of the series are kind of 3-1, 3-0, whatever. But the Knicks played yesterday in a controversial game against the Pistons,
Yes.
where
Yeah.
yeah,
Seems like
where
maybe there was a foul at the end that wasn't called.
yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. got fouled on a three at the end that didn't get called. The refs ended
Yeah.
up saying they made a mistake on that, but the Knicks ended up winning at 93-94, going up in the series 3-1, which was crucial. That was a crucial game, man. Turned the series, really. It could have been tied 2-2. Now it's 3-1. So,
And they're back in New York now, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Look, I think that um yeah, did the lack of call suck? Sure. Right? It was a foul.
Yeah.
However, I do think that the NBA has done a really good job of kind of calling the game back in the old school NBA way where they
Uh-huh.
let the guys play. So it was
Yeah.
consistent, right? That call wasn't called all game. So they
Hmm.
were they were consistent in their no call. So I think it was a good no call. I say
Yeah.
I'm a Knicks fan, and if I wasn't a Knicks fan, maybe I'd have something different to say. But
Hmm.
I do think that that was a really solid no call, even though, yeah, it was a foul. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of no calls like that happen in the game, but
yeah,
I feel like at that time they should have called it. I mean, it was just too crucial part of the game,
I
you
I
know,
hear you. I hear you.
and to not call it at that point. I know Detroit fans are pissed because I would be too if I was a Detroit fan. I mean, it's at
Yeah.
the last shot of the game basically, and it's you know
What I always say is you cannot let it come down to being decided by the refs. They had a couple of opportunities to go up on the Knicks at different points in the fourth quarter.
true, touche. I agree with you, but I just feel
They
like
missed some key shots. There were about five plays that did not go their way before that, where they could have already been up. Don't let it
no.
come down to that because, like I said,
I agree,
I
but
think
it
it was
did
a
come
really
down
solid no
to
call. I think it was a consistent no call.
yeah, but you gotta call that at the end. It's obvious foul, and then for them to come out, if they missed the call, just miss the call. Don't come out later and say, "Oh
That's
yeah,
the thing. The 2 minute report, that shit sucks, okay?
yeah,
That shit sucks because nobody needs to know.
Uh-huh. It's like,
Nobody
yeah,
cares.
nobody needs to know. Like, you should have just not said nothing, so it just makes it worse, But the Lakers and LeBron, how do you feel about them? They're down 3-1 now, losing 116-113 to the Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards, he's on a tear right now, going crazy.
Well, that's the first thing, right? Anthony Edwards is playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
Out of his mind. The question comes down to whose fault is it that the Lakers blew that lead in the fourth game of the series? Because is it JJ Redick's fault for playing his five guys the entire fourth quarter when you have a guy like LeBron who's 40 something years old
Yeah.
and should not be playing an entire quarter with no rest? What he has done over the course of his career is formulated a way to produce rest for himself, where he's able to then go out and be LeBron. But they were tiring him out on both ends of the floor. They were
Yeah.
making him work so hard for shots and then making
Uh-huh.
him work hard on the defensive end.
Yeah. He was guarding Anthony Edwards a lot too. So it's like you're working,
You
definitely getting
have
your
to give
work in.
him rest.
Yeah. Definitely. For
And
sure.
they didn't play with a center for like a good chunk of the game because they've
Hmm.
got their center on their bench. So it's just, do they trust their bench guys? What is the issue here? I mean, when they made the trade for Luca, there were, you know, a lot of questions about who's going to be the center, right? But
Yeah.
it wasn't like oh, they traded for Luca, they're going to go win, you know, the finals now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Traded for Luca, they got better. They're focused on their future. So I
Yeah.
just don't think they're focused on the LeBron window anymore at this point. I feel like they're looking at Luca's window and saying, when can we win a championship with him?
Well, no, definitely. I mean, I don't think LeBron's the problem uh, at all. I mean, he's 40 and look at the numbers he's putting up. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
no,
think,
it's not the problem.
yeah, I don't think he's the problem. Like you said, I think it's more of the coaching in my mind. And like I said, they don't have all the pieces they need. They do need a big for sure. Losing Anthony Davis, a lot of people underestimated the loss of him and what that brings, having a defender down there and the rebounders. But yeah, I mean, I think they're done for this year for sure. So obviously they're going to have to look on to their future for next year, and obviously Luca is the future. So just working and putting the best pieces around him and LeBron till whenever he's done, which I'll give him another year, and then he'll probably go. But yeah, no, but I think the Lakers are definitely done for sure. Sad news for Damian Lillard though, in the Milwaukee Bucks. They lost their game big to the Pacers, 129-103. Damian Lillard tore his ACL.
No,
Not his
his
ACL, tore his
Achilles,
Achilles. I'm sorry. Yeah.
his left Achilles.
Yeah, tore his Achilles in that game. So I mean he's out indefinitely now and they're down in the series. So that's gonna be a hard mountain to climb for sure. How do you feel about that unfortunate situation? An already
Yeah,
bad series for Milwaukee.
it definitely looks like the Bucks season is over at this point. Giannis can't do it all by himself.
Yeah,
But this question now comes down to, I mean, an Achilles injury is 9 to 12 months, probably longer for Damian Lillard with all of the other injuries that he's battled through this
hmm,
season. He's also getting up there in age, so it begs the question, is he coming back from this or is this the end? I think
yeah,
he'll try to come back from it. I think he can come back from it.
yeah. I
He's
definitely
what,
think he can.
35? So he's this is going to take longer. He's out for the entire next season, most likely.
Yeah, yeah,
And Giannis every year says, the priority is winning. And if he doesn't feel like he's on a team that can win, is he planning on leaving?
yeah.
What's
That's a good question too. I think Giannis wants to retire a Milwaukee Buck, whether win, lose, or draw.
He says every year though that winning is the priority, that that's what he's looking for, and if he has a better chance, if he doesn't have a chance to win with the Bucks, then he's going to leave.
Well, I think he might be using those options because I mean they don't have a chance, especially in this series now, without Damian Lillard and the way the Pacers are playing.
Yeah, and the Bucks have a
I
lot of
don't see
cap
them
tied up
winning.
in Lillard as well, so it's not like they can go get big pieces.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
just looks like maybe Giannis might be exploring his options this offseason, which could make for a really interesting NBA offseason.
Yeah, yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, he's a key cornerstone piece. He's a superstar in this league for sure. So wherever he goes, or if he's on the move, it'll be interesting to see where he would go to leave in Milwaukee after all these years for sure. But
Last question for you on the NBA here is who do you have winning it all?
uh, I like the Cavs, man. I like the Cavs to win it all. I'm gonna tell you why. Uh, I just like how they're playing. They just got all the pieces together. They're big. They got bigs. They got the guard play. They play well together. The chemistry is at an all-time high. I do think that they can compete with Boston and beat Boston. Boston's been winning, but they teams have been giving them go. But so I think the Cavs could beat Boston and easily be in the finals. It just depends on who they're matched up with out of the West. But I like the Cavs
Yeah,
for sure.
I
That's my
I still like the Celtics for this. I think the fact that teams have been giving them a little bit of a run now here late in the season, and even the Magic really putting up a huge fight.
yeah.
I think it's going to say a lot about the ultimate tenacity of this team, that they're able to come away with wins, that they're able to continue to push through this. It
Hmm.
might, the only question that I might have is does it tire them out eventually? Do they end up playing more games because of it?
Yeah.
But I think that they have the resiliency to make it through all of this. And I think that they'll beat the Knicks, unfortunately. And I do think that they can beat the Cavs if the Cavs are able to make it that far. We haven't really talked about the Thunder on the other side. They're just on a tear, but
Yeah.
I don't know. To
I
me, it
think it's going to be a collision
feels
course
like,
between them and Denver. Even though Denver's in a battle right now with the Clippers in that series, that's probably the best series in the
yeah,
playoffs right now. But I
yeah.
think it's
I've
going to be
I've got Boston winning, but you know,
for sure. Yeah, no.
have no stake in the game.
Yeah, I always try to in basketball. I always try to go for like a different one. Like I just look at the playoffs and be like, I'm gonna pick an underdog team just to try to root for it, see it,
So the
And
one
it's
seed in the East for
yeah, but they're the one seed, but they're not. They're an underdog. You
you.
know,
Yeah.
nobody believes that they'll win it all still as a one. So which is crazy. It's like nobody's not giving them a chance. So it's kind of why I'm rooting for. I'm not a Cavs fan by any stretch, but not a Cleveland fan, football or basketball. But I definitely would like to see them come out. Just a different team winning it.
Yeah.
Boston got one last year. But I know they trying to do their little dynasty with Jalen Brown and Tatum. So, which I like them guys. They're great players too. But
Mhm.
it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be Cleveland and Boston for sure in the conference finals, in my opinion. But
All right. Well, in even better news, because the NBA playoffs are happening, that means WNBA training camp is starting. So that
mhm.
started today, or yesterday, I think. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. The Wings already have their players taking over social media, and Paige and Dejanay are already going at it. A little bit of a dynamic duo. The Fever are posting videos. Caitlin Clark's knocking down shots. Being
yeah.
her very funny self. Super excited for Sid Colson on that team. She's hilarious. It's gonna be a good season.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's going to be a good season. The seasons get better with the WNBA, definitely. So it's going to be exciting, and there's just so much more talent now. Um,
We get to see a brand new team.
yeah, definitely that too. Yeah. Um, what was I going to ask you? When does the one league start again? The
Unrivaled.
yes, unrivaled.
Unrivaled. 3-on-3 Unrivaled will happen again in the WNBA.
All season. Got you.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a way for the WNBA players to not have to go overseas during the off season. So,
Okay. Cool, cool, cool.
yes.
Um, did you want to do NHL?
Let's touch on it super briefly. Obviously the NHL playoffs are happening. There was crazy fight over the weekend in the Caps game. So, just a lot of fun. I don't know how much you've been keeping up with it though, Big Rod.
Not much because I'm not a big hockey guy, but especially if my Blue Jackets aren't in it, which they never are. But um, obviously, I'm a Ovechkin. He obviously broke Gretzky's record this year, so I'm a root for him and the Capitals to win it all. But
The
they lead their
Capitals are currently leading their series. Going into game
yeah.
five, they're leading 3-1 over the Canadians. So looking good for them. And then they've got to play either the Hurricanes or the Devils. I do think they can win either one of those series as well. So,
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So that's who I'm rooting for to win it, just for Ovechkin, the OG. He probably, if he wins it, he'll probably go out on top for sure. I mean, that'll be a way to go out. He's been in the league for almost over 20 years, I think. So,
yeah. I agree. If you are watching some hockey and looking for some closer games to watch, yes, the Caps are a lot of fun to watch with Ovechkin, but the Western Conference has actually got the closer series right now. They're all
mhm.
tied 2-2 in their series going into the next game.
The
So,
Oilers and
yes,
Kings,
the
yeah,
Oilers and the Kings, the Golden Knights and the Wild, the Stars, Avalanche,
Avalanche.
Jets and Blues. The Jets are the one seed up there, and they are struggling against the Blues. So that could be an interesting upset watch.
hmm
And
Shout
then
out to the Oilers too. I was up in Canada last year in Edmonton, and when I say it's different up there for hockey, it's different up there. And Connor McDavid, I like him a lot as a player too. So shout out to them, definitely.
it'll be an exciting one. I'm sure we'll touch a little bit more on it as it gets closer to the championship, but there's not too much to say right now because neither one of us are the biggest hockey watchers, but
Yeah, definitely not.
I will make sure that we pay attention during those finals. So,
Yeah, we definitely will touch more on it for sure as it gets closer and closer. But that is all the time we have this week on the episode of the He Says, She Says Sports Talk podcast. We are your hosts, Big Red and Tony. We appreciate you guys. And as always, it's love and peace.